My name is Francine Orr.
My name is Marcus Yam.
My name is Robert Gauthier.
My name is Christina House.
My name is Luis Cinco.
My name is Jason Armand. I'm a staff photojournalist here at the LA Times. The initial goal of the Behold Project was to provide a voice for Black Los Angeles to share, their thoughts, their feelings, about what it is to be Black in Los Angeles. And we wanted to do that primarily with portraits and just showing the wide range of people in LA and who they are and the diversity in the community. Each person is different. They come from a different background. And so I try to tap into who that person is, their personality, and kind of let that shine through.
This organization named Arts Up LA, they offer different programs for the differently abled community in Los Angeles, and one of these groups is a group of actors who are unsighted, and they are incredible. My initial idea was to treat them like they were Hollywood stars from the 40s and the 30s. The last thing you would think about was that they were sightless, right? And that these are people with aspirations. This person aspires. This person has it. They deserve to be treated like a Hollywood movie star. So that's where I came from, and that's how it sort of evolved. And as we were shooting it, they all embraced that idea. Like, this is your moment. Let's really see what we can find.
I know just from working that we've experienced a great big long drought. And I've always been aware that the Colorado River was one of our main sources of water in Southern California. So in 2021, I just embarked on a road trip to see what the river was and try to convey this feeling that it's a natural thing, and we depend on it very much. The growth around the river, it's tremendous, and I don't know whether it's going to stop soon. Just a couple of months ago, I went to Phoenix, and in the northern area of Phoenix, there is a road that just was supposed to be a main highway for 100,000 new homes. And that project is on hold because they don't have the water supplies guaranteed. I discovered that people are still looking for the American dream, and the American dream is closely tied to water. Maybe in our pursuit of it, we're going places where the American dream is unsustainable.
So this year, the COVID numbers have been down a little bit relative to the first part of the pandemic. So I've only worked inside of 3 hospitals covering COVID this year. Chaplain Kevin is a hospital chaplain in Mission Hills, and he's somebody that I spent a great deal of time following. He is not certainly the only hospital chaplain that I came across, but he gave me incredible access. He introduced me to families, to patients. The challenges were many, just like the medical staff. My challenges were minimal compared to the challenges of the patients, the families, the medical workers, the hospital. So my small exposure in these hospitals was nothing equal to what they were going through. One of the greatest things that I was able to do, one of the greatest gifts, was I was able to thank the patients in the moment for allowing me to document them, and to thank the medical staff for allowing me to witness history, for the full point of educating the public on what it was like to work in the hospitals.
Hollywood's Finest is a story about a young woman who was living in a tent in Hollywood, and she was pregnant. And we followed her story over the course of nearly 4 years, and we saw a lot of joy and a lot of heartbreak. It was important for me to show the joyous side of the story too, because there was a lot of pain, but there were many moments where I documented Mackenzie in pure joy and admiration of her daughter. So showing that love was really important for that to come through to the reader, because she very much loved her daughter. I thought about it a lot. One day, her daughter, who is currently in foster care, may want to seek out who her birth parents were, and she may see this someday. And it was important for me to have images attached to this story that were proof that her mother did love her.
One of the most noteworthy pictures that I remember making from Afghanistan was the image outside of Kabul airport. And in one of those instances, while I was interviewing a group of students from Herat, Western Afghanistan, who had found themselves in Kabul trying to get on this evacuation flight, was that I heard a rattle of gunfire. I looked across the street, and I could see a woman that was, gunned down, and she was covered in blood, and men were dragging her children. One of them one of her kids were covered in blood and unconscious, and dragging her, and her other child followed along. And I met them kind of in between, and in a moment of frenzy, a mob surrounded as everybody was crying, sobbing, and wailing, and nobody knew what was going on. And I remember the look of this child that looked up at me into my eyes and was in a complete anguish, and I just didn't know what to do beyond, capturing the, in a sense, documenting and preserving this moment, and it, all that unfolded in minutes, and within, in less than 5 minutes, a taxi showed up. The wounded mother was loaded in the car, the child was loaded, and everybody else packed in, and that taxi disappeared and went out of sight, and I could never track that family down afterwards. And that, they always will stay in my mind. And I remember sitting down that evening as the image was getting published, and I wondered, what was going to happen to them. One of the images that I remember making from Ukraine, it came from the town of Irpin, and when one of the rescue attempts, a resident was trying to pack up and get onto this evacuation truck, and noticed that his neighbor's dog was outside the house and wouldn't get inside. And because the city was still getting bombed by artillery, he didn't want the dog to remain outside. So in a swift instance, while artillery was still coming down around us, he kind of rests his forehead onto the dog's forehead and kind of calmed the dog's nerves, and was able to move the dog into the house and into at least, cover. And that image really resonated with a lot of people around the world, and I got a lot of correspondence for it, partly because everybody wondered what happened to the dog, but people were mostly touched by the fact that even in crisis that we do care, and a small act of humanity goes a long way and represents what we're able to do in a time of war.
I'm very proud of the staff of the Los Angeles Times, and I'm particularly proud of the risks, the work, and the talent that the photo department has demonstrated, not only through the pandemic, but always. Sometimes I can be kind of shy, and I really appreciate having an opportunity to share a little bit about behind the scenes of what I experienced, what we experienced this past year.